Last year's Canadian Grand Prix was a race dominated by Max Verstappen and his RB18. Despite a late safety car making things difficult for the Dutchman, he was able to defend against a charge from Carlos Sainz on the race restart. This year, the safe bet would be to expect the same drive from Max, but with teams bringing upgrades, there is potential for the grid to shake up a bit. Aston Martin has high hopes to gain a lot of performance with its hyped upgrade package for this weekend. We also get to see what the revamped Mercedes car is able to do at a circuit like Gilles-Villeneuve. Ferrari also had upgrades at Barcelona, which is sought to improve the consistency of the car. So, let's check it out. First things first, let's take a look at the Gilles-Villeneuve circuit racetrack and what we can expect from the race weekend as a whole. Like I said in the intro, Max Verstappen had no problems whatsoever and was able to take a comfortable race victory. The safety car did bring down the gaps between the top three, but the Red Bull driver was comfortably ahead. The Canadian track favors a car which is able to show great straight line speeds and better slow corner speeds. That is something the RB19 does very well, excelling its predecessor the RB18. The home fans will perhaps be more interested on how their fellow countryman is able to perform. That is Aston Martin's Lance Stroll. Stroll will be looking to give something for the Canadian fans to cheer about. Last year, Stroll came home P10 in an uncompetitive Aston Martin machine. Fernando Alonso driving for Alpine was able to book the front row with Max Verstappen on qualifying, while he had to P9 while riding a midfielder. But this season is different for both drivers. The MR23 has the pace of competing the like of Mercedes and Ferrari. Therefore, they should be able to bank a great result this weekend. This would be a great point to talk about car upgrades brought by teams to Canada, and where better to start than from Aston Martin. The Silverstone outfit last time around lost out to Mercedes as a constructor. Now it sits third in the championship standings. Mercedes, with its new upgraded car, excelled around a high-speed, high-downforce Barcelona circuit. The Aston Martin car, with the data we have, has always been superior on tracks which require impressive braking performance, combined with great low-speed traction. Considering the characteristics of the Canadian circuit, both of these traits of the Aston car are very much what a car needs this weekend. Aston Martin brought upgrades to Monaco, which consisted of revision to the car's front suspension and revision to the car's brake ducts design. Aston Martin submitted to the FIA changes to the front suspension with a section of the upper wishbone modified to improve the oncoming airflow over the rest of the car. That upgrade might not have improved the car's high-speed performance, but at Monaco, we saw how close the MR23 was to the RB19, suggesting that the car has now impressive pace around low-speed sections. None of these upgrades helped the team at Barcelona. Therefore, it is time for the team to fry the big fish in the pan for the Canadian Grand Prix. So, which part could we see changes to be made upon? Well, if you guessed it to be the floor, then you are absolutely right. After the Monaco Grand Prix, the only floor from the top 4 teams we have not seen yet is the Aston Martin one. But with the car's performance, we believe the Aston Martin floor could be something much similar to the RB19. The floor might be far from being the same. Nonetheless, we know that the MR23 and the RB19 has a similar chassis design thanks to Dan Fallows. The newly designed floor could resemble something close to the RB19 floor we saw at Monaco. That implemented to the Aston car will for sure grant them a huge performance boost over their rivals. Formula One journalist Michael Schmidt talked about a discussion he and Aston Martin president Martin Whitmarsh had over the Canada upgrades. Schmidt believes after the discussion that the upgrade will definitely revolve around the floor, as that is the only part which is yet to see refinement in the MR23. Schmidt went on to add, "That's what he told me," Michael Schmidt said. He wouldn't tell me what it is, but I assume he was referring to a new floor, because they've already made detail changes in other areas and I think they'll continue with their sidepod concept as it works quite well. The floor could be a big performance differentiator around a medium downforce circuit like Gilles-Villeneuve. Now, let's move to Mercedes. The Silver Arrows were huge gainers around the Spanish Grand Prix, with both Brits securing the team's first double podium of the season. But the lead Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton was 24 seconds behind race winner Max Verstappen. That's about 4/10 a lap that Mercedes is losing to the Red Bull RB19. With a new package in place, the team now has endless opportunities to examine and improve. This same car ran at Monaco, and they did have a good weekend, but was not the best. The MR23 was still faster around the streets of Monte Carlo, and with the Canada track having lots of low-speed corners, it seems though Aston Martin has the upper hand here. This was confirmed by the team's trackside director Andrew Shovlin. There are more low-speed corners, quite a lot of straight-line full throttle, and we would expect more of a challenge there. he said. "We are not thinking that we are going and nipping at the heels of Red Bull. We are going in there prepared for a battle with Ferrari, Aston Martin and maybe even Alpine. The most important part of the entire upgrade package is the front suspension." Chauvelin admitted that the new front suspension has given the team with more freedom in terms of car setup. Despite the team seeing no improvement at Monaco, they will definitely seek for more performance around Canada, considering that the team has much more running data at their disposal after the Spanish Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton has been very happy about the upgrades brought to the W14, as he expressed. "It's not the place ultimately test and upgrade, but the car was generally feeling good. A bit of a shame we weren't as close as I'd have hoped, but definitely felt the improvements, and we've just got to keep chipping away at it and see if we can squeeze any more juice out of the car." The vital benchmark for Mercedes will be if they can close that 24 seconds gap to Red Bull at Canada. And I am expecting Mercedes to make revisions to the W14's front and rear wing, as those are the only parts the team has not made revisions after the major upgrade at Monaco. Right, let's talk about Ferrari. Even though the Italian team is reluctant to call the Barcelona upgrades a concept change, it sure is a massive shift in development direction for the Scuderia. Ferrari brought new side pods and upgrades to the floor edges with the hope of addressing the consistency issues of the SF23. But that never materialized at Barcelona. Not only was Carlos Sainz off the pace massively, Charles Leclerc couldn't make it to the points after a pit lane start for the Monegasque. When asked about the team's prospects for the Canadian Grand Prix, team principal Fred Vasseur said, "We come to Canada knowing that there is still room for improvement in terms of race pace with the SF23. However, the upgrades introduced at the last round in Spain meant that the car behaved more consistently in the race in Barcelona." Vasseur talked about the SF23 exhibiting consistency, and it is a bit hard to follow. Considering how bad the Barcelona weekend was for Ferrari, the team sure has to make much bigger strides on the consistency area. Therefore, I expect Ferrari to be bringing small upgrades to Canada to perfect the new parts brought to Barcelona. The major focus of these updates will be to improve the tire degradation factor of the SF23, alongside upping the car's consistency over a wide range of track conditions. It will be a big mistake if we don't talk about Williams, as they are bringing its first major upgrade package this weekend. In a push to improve their performance amid a difficult start to the season, Williams are set to introduce a raft of updates to their FW45 this weekend in Montreal. Williams' decision to run the updates on Albon's car only mirrors the split strategy approach they took last season when the British-born Thai was first to try out their new package. The track in Montreal should play slightly more to the strengths of the FW45 than Monaco and Barcelona did, said Williams head of vehicle performance Dave Robson. "We expect to be more competitive, but we will take our time on Friday to understand if the new package is delivering as expected. Alongside the work to understand the upgrades, we will look at the usual tire work on Friday as well as understanding how the track surface has weathered in the last 12 months. Overtaking is easier in Montreal than it was at the last two races, which may open up some additional strategy options during the Grand Prix if the tire degradation can be managed." Now you know what upgrades teams are bringing to Montreal. What are your expectations for the race weekend? Who do you think will be making the biggest gains with their potential upgrade packages? Will anyone be able to close that gap to the Red Bulls this season? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section down below. We'd love to discuss it with you. And on your way down, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get notified of our future uploads to keep yourselves up to date about the 2023 Formula One season.